Good morning. Today we will discuss the various service sector reforms under Module 8, Unit 3. The structure of the discussion is designed out as to comprehend the major service sector reforms in the money and capital market, in the IT sector, the role of services sector, to evaluate the development of tourism sector and understand the changing patterns of the services sector and healthcare industry, and to assess the development of the education sector in India. Today's discussion will be mainly covered right after the reforms in India. The Indian services sector has undergone tremendous change in the past decades. With the advent of the economic liberalization, globalization, and technological changes, the service sector has become one of the major contributors to India's GDP as well as overall economic scenario. The Economic Survey of India of 2023 stated that the service sector contributed to almost 50% of India's GDP. This has been made possible through the various government initiatives, policy changes, and greater private sector involvement in the various industries of the services sector. The growth of digital infrastructure, foreign investment openness, and skill-based employment promotion have played a major role in the overall performance of the services sector. This sector has seen major reforms in almost every component of the services sector. The major financial market reforms have enhanced the regulatory framework, enhancing transparency and investors' confidence. In case of the IT sector, it has been empowered by government with efforts like Digital India and AI-led innovation, underlying the India's leadership in the global digital economy. As for the tourism sector, it has experienced major investment in infrastructure and marketing, resulting in higher foreign tourist arrivals. However, the scenario has changed in the last 3 to 4 years, witnessing a decline in foreign tourists after 2019 due to several factors, and the most important being the pandemic. At the same time, the health reforms have focused on enhancing access to quality healthcare services through initiatives like public-private collaborations, insurance programs, Ayushman Bharat, Atal Amrit Abhiyan, etc. In case of the education sector, this has also witnessed a paradigm shift with the introduction of the National Education Policy 2020, which focuses on the holistic and multidisciplinary education. Also, considering the major education institutions in India like IIT, IIM, AIIMS, etc., has provided hundreds of skilled laborers, which has resulted in a great contribution towards the country's development. In today's discussion, we will look into the key reforms in this important subcomponents of the services sector, their effectiveness, and their effect on the economic and social progress of our country. Let us first look into the money and capital market reforms. India's financial industry has experienced meaningful reforms aimed at fortifying the capital markets, facilitating financial solidity, and encouraging investors' faith. The most important leading reforms of the money and capital market in India, which has helped India on this road, are as follows. Number 1 is the SEBI regulations. The Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, has enforced strict disclosure requirements, better investor protection measures, and also ensured transparency in capital markets. For example, SEBI established the prohibition of insider trading regulations to prevent unfair market practices and to increase the confidence of the investors. Next, the foreign portfolio investment reforms. The foreign portfolio investment or the FPI norms liberalization has facilitated higher foreign participation in debt and equity markets. Relaxed investment caps and simplification of the registration procedures have resulted in higher foreign inflows. One such example is the RBI's decision to permit 100% foreign direct investment in some industries such as insurance and banking in order to improve the capital market liquidity. In case of money and market capital reforms, another important step was the introduction of the small SIP investments. In order to promote retail investor participation in equity markets, the Securities Exchange Board of India, SEBI, launched a small-scale systematic investment plans SIPs with a minimum of Rs 250. This initiative has opened the gates of investment for people belonging to lower income groups by making mutual funds investable for all. This change has generated huge increase in retail sector investor participation, and the systematic investment plans have also contributed enormously to inflows into the mutual funds. Another important aspect in this area is the building bonds market. The Indian government has taken steps to build the bonds market, promising a long-term financing for infrastructure and corporate segments. For instance, the launch of sovereign green bonds has attracted eco-friendly investors, while the growth of corporate bond markets has enabled businesses to access lower cost of borrowing. Moreover, the launch of the electronic bond trading platform RBI Retail Direct has enabled retail investors to invest directly in government securities. Now let us look into this table, which shows the major reforms right after the LPG schemes in India. In the 1990s, during the liberalization era, it started with the establishment of SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India, in 1992. In 1994, the National Stock Exchange was also formed. In the early 2000s, during the era of globalization and expansion, there was the introduction of the Foreign Portfolio Investment Framework, followed by derivatives trading. In 2010 to 2020, during the digital and structural reforms era, strict SEBI norms on corporate governance and small systematic investment plan investments were introduced. Overall, the Indian stock exchange market capitalization increased from 2.5 trillion rupees in 1991 to 310 trillion in 2023. Now let us look into the information technology reforms. In case of the IT reforms, India's IT industry has been the most vibrant economic growth driver, playing a pivotal role in world digital change, job creation, and foreign exchange earnings. The government has made several reforms over the last couple of decades to drive long-term growth in this sector, especially after the reforms of 1991, which brought in liberalization, privatization and globalization. It has been seen that there is a boom in India's IT industry, leading to a huge job creation and infrastructural improvement. India's IT-enabled services and software industry has thrived as a result of forward-looking policies that encourage innovation, digital access, and regulatory transparency. The IT industry has been boosted by several large investments in frontier technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, cybersecurity, and cloud computing. Initiatives like the India AI Mission have enabled research partnerships among academia, the private sector, and government institutions, enhancing India's role in the AI-led global markets in the recent times. The growth of IT and Special Economic Zones (SEZs) and tax benefits has also further attracted multinational companies to set up technology industry in India, boosting employment generation and foreign direct investment. Moreover, the government's emphasis on digital payments apps, as seen in the quick growth of the Unified Payments Interface (UPI), has transformed the financial transactions, and India has emerged as one of a world leader in the financial technological innovations. Cybersecurity policies like the Data Protection Bill of 2023 have been brought forward in order to reinforce data privacy and security norms and to ensure an effective IT governance model. The startup nation has been fueled by measures like Startup India and has taken India to its current position of the third largest startup destination in the world, with increased venture capital investments and unicorn companies. By making strategic investments in connectivity infrastructure, the IT education promoting policies, and long-term collaborations between the government and private sector, India has emerged as an important player in the international digital economy. These reforms not only charged up the IT exports and employment generation in India, but it has also revolutionized the digitalization of traditional sectors like healthcare, banking, and education. Now let us look into the various IT reforms that has taken place in the Indian context after the 1990s. During the liberalization era of 1990s, new IT policies and supporting software exports were introduced, followed by the IT outsourcing boom with rise of companies like Infosys, TCS, and Wipro. In the era of globalization and expansion in the 2000s, the IT Act 2000 facilitating the e-commerce and cyber security was brought into place, which followed by the NASSCOM led IT workforce expansion in the 2005. In the next decade of 2010 and 2020 to 2020, where digital and structural reforms were brought into place, initiatives like Digital India in 2015 and 5G rollout plan of 2022 has been major players. AI, blockchain, fintech regulation framework of 2020-23 has also been a major part of India's digital journey. The revenue of India's IT industry grew from 4 billion in 1998 to 194 billion in 2023 because of the initialization of these reforms in the IT industry. Now let us focus into the tourism sector reforms. The tourism sector reforms focusing on developing top tourist destinations with well-equipped infrastructure facility and easy-to-access facility of affordable hotels, restaurants and healthcare has become India's plus point. The central government has tied up with state government and launched several schemes for development of tourist destinations, providing world-class facilities. Some of the leading reforms in the tourism sector are: Number 1. The Incredible India campaign. Initiated by the Government of India, this campaign was aimed at positioning India as an international tourism destination. It has substantially augmented foreign tourist arrivals and promoted India's global image in the travel sector. Next, we have the Swadesh Darshan and Prasad schemes. The schemes initiated by the government had emphasized theme-based tourist circuit development and pilgrimage tourism, enhancing infrastructure and connectivity in heritage sites so as to integrate pilgrimage destination in a sustainable manner, providing a complete religious tourism experience. In order to boost the medical and wellness tourism in India, India has become a world center for medical tourism in the recent years due to the availability of low-cost healthcare, top-class hospitals, and age-old wellness therapies such as Ayurveda and yoga. In India, states like Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi, Mumbai, and Bengaluru are hotspots for medical tourists from abroad. This has been also made easier by the e-visa facility. The implementation of the e-visa services for more than 160 nations has made the visa application easier and thus led to the promotion of international tourist arrivals more smooth and easy. If we look into the reforms of the tourism sector, in the 1990s, India's Tourism Development Corporation (ITDC) was privatized. In the 2000s, Incredible India campaign of 2002 was launched to boost international arrivals. And during the era of 2010, e-visa was introduced for more than 160 countries with schemes like Swadesh Darshan and Prasad schemes. The overall tourism development rose from 2.5 million in 1997 to 11.2 million in 2019 prior to the pandemic. Thus, it can be seen that after the initiation of many important schemes in the tourism sector, the development has seen so much of tourist influx in the recent years. Let's move to the health sector reforms. The India's healthcare industry has been subject to significant reforms for enhancing accessibility, affordability, and quality healthcare services. The government has launched numerous programs for strengthening the public healthcare infrastructure, fostering private sector involvement, and by utilizing digital technology to reach out to remote locations. These reforms have been important in serving the public health needs, widening the scope of universal health coverage to each and every citizen. Some of the key healthcare reforms are discussed as follows. The Ayushman Bharat scheme, the largest government-sponsored healthcare program in the whole world, offering free health insurance of Rs 5 lakh per family annually to more than 50 crore beneficiaries. The scheme has decreased the out-of-pocket expenditure and healthcare spending, and in turn has enhanced the access to healthcare services in rural and underprivileged regions. The National Digital Health Mission. This mission seeks to develop a digital health environment, providing patients and healthcare professionals with smooth access to electronic health records. Through the incorporation of telemedicine services and digital health IDs, the National Digital Health Mission is improving the efficiency and transparency of the healthcare services. Next, we have the augmentation of the public-private partnerships in PPP mode. The private investment in healthcare infrastructure, diagnostics, and pharmaceuticals to enhance accessibility and affordability. The model has contributed to the increased number of specialty hospitals and clinics, especially in semi-urban and rural regions. The government has also initiated the strengthening of the primary healthcare centers in the rural areas. The higher budgetary provisions have resulted in the construction of rural healthcare facilities, improving maternal and child healthcare services, immunization services, and preventive health interventions. The primary healthcare centers has been strengthened and has been seen to be crucial in lowering the infant and maternal mortality rates. Next is the evolution of telemedicine services. The fast growth of telehealth platforms such as eSanjeevani has enhanced access to healthcare in the rural and remote regions of the country by enabling patients to see doctors remotely and obtain digital prescriptions. The telemedicine has especially worked well throughout the COVID-19 pandemic by maintaining continuity of care despite the lockdowns. Let us look into the major reforms in the healthcare industries post the post-reform era. In 1990s, during the liberalization era, private hospitals like Apollo, Fortis were expanded. Similarly, the pharma sector opened up for FDI in 1991. In the early 2000s, the National Rural Health Mission was introduced in 2005 with the rapid expansion of medical tourism. And during the digital and structural reforms era, the Ayushman Bharat scheme of 2018 for universal health care and National Digital Health Mission of 2020 proved to be very important in the healthcare reforms. The health insurance coverage under the Ayushman Bharat scheme reached 50 crore beneficiaries in 2020. And in terms of medical tourism income, it rose from $1 billion in 2004 to $7 billion in 2022. Now let us move to the educational sector reforms in India. The National Education Policy of 2020. This landmark reform aiming at multidisciplinary education, skill acquisition and online learning platform has been at the forefront of the education sector reforms in India, followed by the launching of digital learning platforms. Activities such as SWAYAM, Diksha and eVidya have increased the reach to quality learning through the online modes. Many foreign universities are also to function in India. The NEP 2020 has opened the door for the establishment of campuses by leading international universities in India, enabling international academic collaboration. Followed by the Skill India mission, which emphasizes on vocational training and skill development programs to make students job ready. In terms of research and development, the government has proposed grants to higher education institutions to encourage research and innovations. Let us look into this table where various reforms in the education sector has been proposed. In the 1990s, the private universities were permitted with the rise of institutions like MIT and SRM. It was followed by the growth of institutes like IITs and IIMs. During the 2000s, the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan was launched for universal elementary education, followed by the technical expansion of technical institutions under the AICTE, All India Council for Technical Education. Post 2010, the new education policy of 2020 promoted multidisciplinary learning, which is followed by online learning platforms like SWAYAM, Diksha and eVidya. These reforms have led to higher education gross enrollment ratio, which increased from 8.1% in 2001 to 28.4% in 2022. Thus, we can see that India's reforms in money and capital markets, IT, tourism, health and education have had a remarkable impact on the economic growth and development of the country. The reforms have enhanced financial stability, promoted digital economy, increased tourism-related employment, and enhanced healthcare access and educational standards were raised. This policy innovation, infrastructure investment, and sustainable governance will be very important to deliver sustained economic momentum and international competitiveness in the next few decades.